Welcome to Development Pillars Television. My name is Olanrewaju Osho, and I'm very happy that you are out there week in, week out, joining us on this program as we look at the pillars of development in our society. Today we are looking at the workers as the pillars of development in the society. And the issue of workers' welfare is very paramount, in helping them to perform maximally and improving productivity. So people believe that when the workers are happy and they feel satisfied, the level of their output will increase. But when they are unhappy and they are not satisfied, the level of productivity and their performance will go down. So you know that in Nigeria for quite some time now, the issue of minimum wage has been on the front burner, loud for all to hear. And the government and the labor union, labor congress have been going in and out of meetings to try and see what can be done to address the issue once and for all. It has not been very easy. It has been topsy-turvy, so to speak, because the labor congress fixed a particular amount that they are targeting as a minimum wage, specifically around 500,000. And the federal government said no, the 30,000 we are paying is not even all the states that are able to pay as at now. So we need to find an equilibrium. And the attempt to find equilibrium is been dragging up and down, down and up for quite some time. So today we'll be focusing essentially on this issue of minimum wage. What is it really about? Are we getting it right? Are we not getting it right? If we are not getting it right, what are the things that we need to do to ensure that we get it right? And this issue does not become a recurring decimal that will make workers to down tool, economy shut down, billions, trillions of naira lost year in, year out. So I'll be doing a solo show today, and we will be, I believe you're out there, we can be reasoning together and discussing this issue as we look at how to make minimum wage work for Nigeria. On the 3rd of June, the labor down tool, when the national grid was shut down around 3 a.m. to make sure that the impact of the strike is felt. Of course, the impact was felt nationwide. The airports couldn't operate, so a lot of travelers were stranded, and emergency meetings were taking place here and there, and then labor decided to call off the strike around 12 a.m. on the 4th of June. And labor promised that was to give government 1 week respite to put their act together and meet their demand. And since then, the government has been trying to see what they can do, and the labor has come down from 494,000 naira per month as minimum wage to 250,000. And government has moved from 60,000 naira per month to 62,000 naira per month. The level of inflation has played a very pivotal role in this argument, for minimum wage and against minimum wage. A lot of private employers do not even know that this minimum wage debate affected them, because we spoke with a few people and said, do you know that if this issue is eventually resolved and government says, okay, we are going to pay 250,000 naira, which labor is asking for, do you know it affects you as an employer of labor? And so they said, no, it doesn't affect me, it's only government. So a lot of owners of small, medium enterprises feel that this minimum wage issue is only for government workers. No, Labor Congress is fighting for all workers. But in fighting for all workers, did Labor Congress sufficiently take, private sector employers do they carry them along? So what amount can we agree on that can be easy for, public sector employers to pay and private sector employers to pay? Of course, you also heard that many of the governors said they cannot even afford to pay 100,000, even 60,000. And the Secretary of the Government of the Federation said if the money is raised to 100,000, he cannot afford to pay his drivers for, that amount. So let's break this minimum wage thing. Let's break it down so that we can really understand how it works. There's a difference between wages and salaries. Wages is what you pay your workers for the work he did part time for a particular specific fixed, period of time, maybe hours, for example, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. And salary is a fixed thing that you agree to pay on a monthly basis, whether the worker does, a particular number of hours, or even if he's sick, he's not able to come to work, he will still pay. A wage for wages, if you do not come to work at that particular time that you agree, you will not be paid. So, but for salaries, so when they say somebody is a salaried, your job is a salaried job, it means that it's a fixed amount of money that will be paid. So when you talk of wages and you talk of salaries, so there are people who are wage earners and there are people who are salary earners. So how do we do this thing in a way that, it's holistic? It affects, all employers and they're able to flow along, and then, not lead to unemployment or sacking of employees. And again, what we call minimum wage, how big really is it, or what can it do for the people? Can it take the workers home? Can it help the workers to at least to survive, to be able to take care of themselves, take care of their family, and then also to be able to get themselves to work and perform their duty, dutifully? So we broke it down, and then we want to look at what is now, what labor is asking for, and what government is saying that they are able to pay. So for example, the 30,000 naira minimum wage came into existence just only some few years ago, I think under Buhari. And at 30,000 naira for 1 month, let's say 1 month of 22 working days, so it means that a worker is earning 1,364 naira per day. 1,364 naira per day. Of course, if you look at 1,364 naira per day today, what can it do for a worker? Even the transportation to the office, the money is already wiped off. And then the worker needs accommodation. The worker will feed himself if he's not married. And there are people who are earning minimum wage who are also family people. So what can 1,364 naira do for a worker? And if you break it down to the number of hours that we are expected to work per day, which is 8 hours, it means that the worker is earning 170 naira 50 kobo per hour. 170 naira 50 kobo per hour. So by the time you multiply this times 8 hours, which gave us 1,364 per day, a worker may not even be able to have a good meal in the course of the working hours. So that's why you find out that many of the workers who are earning minimum wage just settle down for food that is called junk food. So there's an health implication in that area already. So you find that what many of them can just manage to grab is maybe a loaf of bread, not high-end bread, because high-end bread now, a loaf is 1,400 naira. So the amount is earning in a day cannot even buy a loaf of bread. So that's why the agitation is on, and that's why government must pay attention to the issue of minimum wage, so that our economy can be more productive. We'll talk about the issue of productivity later. Just because when we talk about salary, minimum wage, some of the workers are not delivering the kind of productivity that they're supposed to deliver because of the environment of the work. So as we are trying to solve the problem, productivity has to be topmost on our mind to make sure that we are able to, boost the economy significantly by being more productive than we used to be before. Okay, so Labour has agreed 250,000. And if government is able to come to the level of Labour, it means that a worker at minimum wage of 250,000 naira can now earn 11,364 naira per day. 11,364 naira per day. That's why Labour seems to be very adamant and very strong, because at 11,364 naira per day, the worker, assuming he transports himself to and from work, 500 naira to 1,000 naira. Some people going to work cost them as much as 3,000, 4,000 because of the removal of fuel subsidy. So the price of transportation has gone up. A good meal hovers around 1,000 to 2,000. So the entire amount of money that takes the worker to work, bring him back, make him to be able to have a good breakfast, a good lunch, the Labour has calculated that maybe about 5,000 must have gone. Of course, the rent breakdown, he has to be saving something per day for the rent. He has to be saving something per day for his own education if he's still going to school part-time, or if he has family already, he has to be saving something. So that's why you see that Labour is adamant on this 250,000 naira, where they said they cannot go down below. And then that means that the worker is earning 1,421 naira per hour. 1,421 naira per hour. And some people are comparing us to what happens abroad, where a worker is earning minimum of $10 per hour. But the environment is not totally the same. But even though we have to be influenced by that, we also have to consider our own peculiar environment. Then, government is adamant at 62,000 naira per month as minimum wage. So that makes sure that if that means that if government is doing that, a worker now earns 2,815 naira minimum per day. Is this sustainable? Can this sustain the worker? Can it sustain him? So, and that brings the remuneration to 353 naira per hour. So for every hour that a worker puts in, all is getting back as remuneration is 353 naira. And Labour has looked at this holistically, and Labour is saying this 62,000 naira that government is talking about can never be up to the amount. Now we have broken this down, and we have seen what workers are going through in Nigeria, and the issue is now, how do we find a perfect equilibrium that will not lead to mass sacking by private sector employers? Because if we arrive at an amount that the private employers are not able to pay, there will be mass retrenchment, and when many people lose their job, it's going to lead to crime. So you can see this is an issue we have to look at holistically to be sure that we're able to address it and be able to make sure that it's a win-win situation for Labour, for government, for private sector employers. We are going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we will now dive deep in to see what will be the best way out for this issue. We are still on development pillars, and we are looking at the workers as the strong element of development, as pillars of making the economy to work, the nation to move forward, and everything to be fine. Don't change the dial. This is still KAFTAN Television, and we're on Development Pillars TV. See you after the timeout. Welcome back to Development Pillars TV. My name is still Olanrewaju Osho, and today we are looking at the workers as very key element of development in the society, and particularly workers' remuneration. So the issue of minimum wage has been, on the front burner in Nigeria for some time now, and we have been talking about it. What will it be? What will it be? What will it be? Workers need living wage that makes their life okay. Not that you are going to work and you are struggling to pay your rent. You are struggling to feed. You are struggling to be able to afford Medicare. A living wage is a wage that allows you to be able to, to have at least a fair standard of living. So 62,000 naira is what government says they can offer, and Labour says this is not going to work. By the way, how did we get to this particular point? The Constitution of Nigeria, item 34, Schedule 2, empowers the National Assembly to prescribe what should be the minimum wage across the Federation for every part of Nigeria. Now, if a state is rich, the state can now make that minimum wage prescribed by the National Assembly the benchmark, the minimum benchmark. They can pay higher than that. In the US, for example, the minimum wage has been fixed at $10 per hour, across the Federation. But there are states that are paying minimum wage of $15, $18, because they feel that our workers deserve much more than this, and we are more blessed than this. If National Assembly has been proactive in carrying out this assignment of item 34, Schedule 2 of the Constitution, I don't think Labour will be, we have any opportunity to be going on strike, downing tools, shutting down a national grid, blocking airports, and closing schools, closing factories, and then making the country to lose serious money annually. So where we are going to start, as we solve this problem now, the National Assembly must always be up and doing in the issue of monitoring the trend. Have we grown beyond this minimum wage, and we need to, up our ante and arrive at something that will give everyone that living wage that we're talking about. And if that is done, then we will not go back to this issue of labor. But where we are right now, the quagmire has to be addressed. And to address the quagmire, the president asked the Federal Executive Council in the last meeting 2 days ago to step down the issue of minimum wage that was supposed to be deliberated that day. And he said he wanted to consult with stakeholders far and wide to be able to address the issue and arrive at an amount that will not, make life difficult for government, make life difficult for private sector employers, and also that will put smile on the face of the people, and do it in a way that will not lead to inflation. Because what brought us here was that, number one, we have outgrown the 30,000 naira, but we didn't react appropriately. And then number two, the galloping inflation that accompanied the removal of oil subsidy, and the FX issue that just turned everything upside down for Nigeria, and prices were rising almost on a daily basis. They are still rising, but they are getting to the highest point where it doesn't make sense to, when you get to a particular point, nobody can afford those things again. So how do we address this issue now that the president is in meeting, consulting with stakeholders? What will or should the minimum wage be? Should we still focus on this monthly thing, or should we focus on, let's set an hourly benchmark? Hourly benchmark. For example, if we set up an hourly benchmark of a minimum wage that allows a worker, minimum wage for a worker, that says that no Nigerian worker should be paid less than 2,000 naira per hour. It means that a worker that is doing 8 to 5 can now do 4 hours, maybe 8 to 2. And if it's that I'm okay, I bet 8,000 naira for today, And if he calculates that a social amount of hours of work, he can satisfy me, help me to meet my needs, take care of me, give me a good life. Then I don't need to do, 8 to 5. If we must unlock the economy of Nigeria and move it from 8 to 5 economy to 24 hours economy, then we have to review the issue of minimum wage per hour. And like former Governor Fashola said, he said this salary issue that we are looking at, that what the Constitution provides for is the minimum wage that look at how much a worker should be paid per hour. There is a way that if we do this, it unlocks the economy. And if we do not do it in a right way, for example, and after all the consultation and the president agree with labor that, okay, fine, we are not able to pay you 250, we can do 150. All the private sector employers, can they be able to afford 150,000 naira? So anyone who cannot afford 150,000 naira, if we are still on fixed salary of 150,000 naira, if that is our minimum wage as salary, 150,000 naira, he will simply, if he has 20 employees, he will simply sack like 15 and say, I can only pay 5 people. So the 15 that remains, what happened to them? So we are going to lose a lot of workers in the private sector. And in the public sector, it may now make the public sector organization to begin to say, okay, wait a minute, we are overstaffed in the first place. What work is Mr. A doing? What work is Mr. B doing? What work is Mr. C is doing? I think what we need is that we have 1,000 employers. Actually, employees. Actually, 600 can do the work of 1,000. So we are going to lay off 400. And so let's begin to imagine in advance. If public sector drop people, private sector drop people, how do we move the economy forward? How do we address the issue of crime and criminality? And we all know that when one person is employed in Nigeria, it's actually 4 or 5 people that are eating from the work he's doing. So what we are advocating in development pillars is that the managers of our economy, the president and his men, must look at this issue in an holistic way that will not drive inflation, lead to retrenchment of workers, and then affect the economy negatively. Somebody has said that he's waiting for the minimum wage to be announced, that he's going to increase his own crate of egg from 4,000 to 10,000. And we know that every minimum wage, the way we do minimum wage in Nigeria, because we are not thinking out of the box, and we are not proactive in responding to the demand of time and the socio-economic factors that surround it. So we make a lot of noise and fanfare around it, such that as soon as it is announced, it leads to inflation immediately. So it's like taking 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. So we are making a strong appeal to the government that this issue should be done in a way that is a win-win for this economy, win-win for workers, win-win for employers, and so on and so forth. And we are making a proposal that it is time for Nigeria to begin to fix minimum wage, not for months, but for hours. How much is a Nigerian labor worth per hour? The United States have fixed their own for $10. It used to be $7. It was scaled up to $10. So if somebody goes to work for 7 hours, he knows that he's going home with nothing less than $70. The United Kingdom have fixed their own. Nigeria needs to fix hourly wage, minimum hourly wage. And there's a way that this will be a blessing to the economy. It will unlock the economy. For example, if I have 10 workers that are working for me, and they come from 8 to 5 every day, and they are collecting salary of 100,000 naira, I can now say, look, you know what? I don't want you guys to do 10 hours anymore. So choose any time you want to come to work. Some will say, okay, I want to do morning now. Some will say, I want to do afternoon. So the one that is doing morning now is now free to use his afternoon for other things. And the one that is doing morning is the one that is doing afternoon is free to use his morning for other things. And it is still done in a way that instead of waiting for the end of the month to make your 100,000 naira salary, now you can make 100,000 naira salary in just 10 days. So you can choose to work for 10 days and then use your other 10 days. So that's why you see that in other countries, employees do 2 jobs. They work 2 jobs. Yeah, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm working 3 jobs. In Nigeria, you can't work 2 or 3 jobs unless you want to kill yourself because of the way it is structured. You must just, so you are leaving home at 6 a.m., going to work, or leaving home at 7 a.m. if you are not living in traffic-prone area, going to work, and then you get to work, and then whether you are doing something or you are not doing something, you just stay there. So the current system does not promote productivity. A lot of people in the civil service, you know, report for work. They report late because they know that they are not being paid per hour. And people say, Ogota, whether the master prosper or the master does not prosper, the person that is the loader will collect the salary. So a lot of man hours are wasted in our workplaces because people are just waiting for the end of the month to collect their salary. And then we just employ people without, you know, key performance indicators for this is the work we are supposed to do, this work we are supposed to do, this is the level of output I'm expecting from you today. So other economies are more efficient because of their wage system. They are more efficient. You know that this is the amount of hour you are paying per month, per hour. So, and you know that you are going to work 40 hours in a week. So once you just clock in, you are not using 2 hours on phone. You are not using 1 hour loitering. You know, you are not using 3 hours to gossip. You are not using, you know, you are not wasting the time of your employer. You are just there. You know you are here. So it makes workers more purposeful. So when we arrange our wage system very well, and particularly introduce the minimum wage per hour, it makes our, you know, workers more purposeful. You are going to work, you know what you are going to do, and it makes your productivity to rise up, because you know that there's a minimum benchmark of work that you're supposed to do. And the person that's employing you is not just employing you into an open space. He's employing you into a schedule that is well structured. So whether you are in the public service, you have a schedule that is well structured. Whether you are in the private sector, you have a schedule that is well structured. So you are giving your employer, you know, his money worth, and the employer is giving you the value, the right value for your labor. So we need a revolution that is holistic, that can drive this country forward, that can unlock productivity in our nation, and that can make, you know, the worker to be happy, to feel that is not being shortchanged by the employers, and the employers also to be happy that they are not being shortchanged by the workers, and then win-win situation for everyone. So as Nigeria continues this the debate, and as the president continues to dialogue, we pray that may the Almighty God help Nigeria to get it right, so that Nigerians can begin to earn living wage, and the level of productivity in our country can begin to take upward swing. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Nigerians. Thank you so much. This is Development Pillars TV. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Keep watching KAFTAN TV. God bless you.